All right, we've been gone for some time, but we're back. Welcome back to Community Television Africa. With my co-host, as usual, Angelo, who's in Joburg, skateboarding, which is going to be part of the topic we have today. Today we have an interesting topic in which we're going to relate the experience of skateboarding and exploring urban territories and relating it to spirituality and to Buddhism. Okay, so Angelo came up with this because Angelo is a skateboarder. So the first question I'm going to ask you, have you ever had a serious injury in skateboarding?
Oh, yes, just recent, I think these past 3 or 4 months, I had to go do a surgery on
Or
my
I think I saw the
left
picture. You're in the
arm.
hospital bed. Did you have a broken arm or something? Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, on my left hand, on the palm.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I
Well,
yeah,
so
had to
that
go through.
explains your interest because you talk in the readings that I did and the studies that we did, we saw that if you're a skateboarder or if you are someone who does like people who do stuntman, if you're someone who does or even sports, especially martial arts, there's no way you're going to survive if you become so traumatized by injury that it blocks your ability to flow and to be in the moment when you go back again. So, and a lot of things like breathing, also being able to let go and being able to see that it's part of the game to get injured. And even when coming forward, you want to avoid getting injured, but you still, a lot of times, you even want to become out more bold. And to me, that's sort of like a metaphor for life because no matter what you do, there you are going to make mistakes, and there's always that danger. But once you've committed yourself to the path, you have to be able to block out those fears, at least while you're skating, and while you're
Hmm.
doing it, you have to be able to block it out. And over time, you have to be able to meditate and to assure yourself, even when you're not skating, that since I'm doing this, you have the faith that it's the process. And very rarely do you see something that's life threatening or super bad, but you're going to have injuries. But from what I was reading, a lot of it has to do with even when you're injured, not trying to hurry up and get back into the game. Also,
Hmm.
not
Hmm.
trying, not worrying about the fact that you're not skating because if you, I don't care who you are, Tony Hawk has been out for weeks, for months. So what happens is you can look at it the other way around and say that injury is something that you share with every fellow skateboarder, so that even when you're injured and they're skateboarding, they've been through it before. So through your imagination and through your meditation, you actually realize that you're not alone because they've had those experiences and shared those with you. So that we'll start with that. Then after that, we'll talk more about how skateboarding can turn urban areas, which we see as being not having a lot of trees, not having a lot of beauty, just being concrete jungles with crime. How skateboarding itself helps turn your environment, as gray as it may be, or as bleak as it may be, or concrete as it may be, into an exploratory world through the skateboarding, which also has similarities with meditation. But let's start off with the idea of being able to let go of the fear of pain so that you can focus and get into the moment when you need to when you're skating, and also going through the process of figuring out what you do while you're injured and you may not be able to skate without losing your mind saying I need to skate. And I believe it's faith because no matter who you are, that's actually part of skateboarding. So if others have reached greatness in it and been fulfilled by it, then it doesn't mean that your injury is setting you back. It's part of the process. What are your thoughts, Angela?
Yeah, I mean, skateboarding is not a easy practice.
Mhm.
Even though, even sometimes when you're doing it for a hobby, I mean, doing what you love, but it does come with those risks. And when it does happen, you need to know how to deal with them. And for me, my first time getting this huge injury, I then started to hesitate on whether or not should I like, still continue skating. But eventually I got to this mindset where I'm like, okay, you know what, let me just think this through. Let me go through the process of healing, and then I can decide whether or not should I go back, go hard as I used to. So
Yeah.
I think meditation and maybe perhaps Buddhism, I think that is a way where you can use meditation to get at least your mind straight so that when you are healing, you don't just heal your body, but the trauma that carries
Yeah,
through
yeah,
your
yeah. And this goes with everything because like I've had some experiences like maybe when I was living in South Africa, I had some traumatic experience. And I know that I'm going to go back because that's my calling. But sometimes if I think about the negative sides about it, then that to me is a sort of like a second death because once you stop doing what you love because of the fear, that's of death, which is worse than I hate to say this, than dying doing what you love. So long as you can manage the risk, you get my point. If a war breaks out in South Africa, I'm not going to say, "Well, let me go there," but if I know that no matter where I live, there's always risk involved in your environment. So if you're worrying about risk all the time, then you won't live. So what I would say in relation to what you're talking about, if you get injured, like you said, you practice your meditation, your visualization, but also at lower speeds, like when you're doing your moves and stuff, you practice those and then increase the intensity. So you also look at what you can do to avoid the accidents that you had before. And what I've noticed, whether it's music or skateboarding, what you do is you start off with easy techniques that are less risky at a slower speed. Then you build up the speed. So, for example, you say, I'm going to try this type of move. You start off a basic move, which is similar to that at a lower speed. Then, by the time you practice for a year on that move, you know that the risk of you getting injured doing that is less. You see what I'm saying? So that's the physical part, improving your practice skill so that you cut down the chances. But at the same time, doing the meditation to realize that no matter what, there always will be risk. What are your thoughts? Yeah.
yeah, true.
Yeah.
On the first part, I think meditation, or at least being able to get to that state where you are, conscious of your environment and, such, maybe even your thoughts. So I
Yeah.
think you can be able to use meditation to sort of visualize
Yeah.
your end goal. And even just when you're skateboarding, from my experience, it's sort of like even just a simple push to me seems like, something that is just so fluent and it's flowing throughout my whole body. It does feel
Yeah.
like a calm state. But when it comes to the actual tricks and doing all these crazy stuff we do,
Yeah.
um it seems like it lasts for such a short moment, but
A narrow
in your
window
mind,
of
yeah,
opportunity.
but in your mind it's like everything is so well calculated, well planned, and it
Yeah.
seems like a long
A
time,
long time.
like you
Yeah.
know how to process the trick.
Everything is
So
flowing
I
down.
think,
That's a high level of control. Yeah. Yeah. And I don't
yeah,
know if you know
so
this because I do bowling. Have you ever gone bowling before? Yeah. When I do bowling, like a lot of people say you should look at the arrows on the lane to know where you aim. But if I do that, I feel like I lose a connection with my body. So have you ever done this with skateboarding where you do something which is half with your eyes open, but half with your eyes closed so that you're in the middle zone in which you're looking outwards, but you're also using visualization and instinct at the same time? You understand what I'm talking about? There's like a sweet
yeah,
spot
true.
there's a sweet spot in which you're still focusing on form and technique or accuracy, but also it's like feeling the accuracy. I know this sounds funny, like just sort of like in Star Wars with the Jedi's when they want to shoot something. They're not always looking at it directly because they now are so in tune with their environment that they don't even have to use their eyes to guide them anymore because they have a feel of the space that they're in. You understand what I'm talking about? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
there are some tricks in skateboarding where it's like, for example, a backside, any type of backside. You approach, like when you're doing the trick at a certain obstacle, you approach it while you are going backwards. Or at least when you're doing the trick, there's a part of you that doesn't see where
Yeah,
you're going, where you're going to land. So you kind of have to rely on your visualization.
and you're
So
spatially.
that's why,
Can I ask you a question also? When you're making that approach, before you turn your back on it, do you look at it and part of you looking at it and scanning it is sending a message to your body on how to locate yourself in relation to it after you've turned? You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So like let's
yeah,
say,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. So that's because I don't know, because we're animals. Animals can orientate themselves, just like any animal. And so what I'm trying to say is that as you're making your approach, you look at it now, and even though when you're spinning and you're not looking at it anymore, you've already sort of sent messages through your body and everything that sort of adapt so that if you hadn't looked while you're making the approach, you wouldn't be able to do it blind. So you're not really doing it blind because you some have some spatial awareness of where you are, so that even when you spin, the body has so many different senses that it can still orientate itself. You get what I'm trying to say? Yeah. And so
Yeah, yeah,
and so to me, I look at
yeah,
all of this goes within Buddhism because people think that Buddhism is just a philosophy. It's about meditation, it's about letting go, but it's also about flow state. And to me, flow state is when you realize that the way you the way you relate to your environment. I want to
mhm,
use the word extrasensory, but what it is that we have more senses than we're aware of. It's not just directly looking at things and analyzing. You can have a
yeah.
feel of where you are in space and move your body. And I know in gymnastics they do that too. Yeah, so sorry about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, like meditation for me, the way I got introduced to it,
Mhm.
it just it just like it was a clear path to seeing myself. Like it felt like how I feel when I skate. Like I realize my environment, even though there are so many things going on, but it's
Yeah.
like I can be able to focus on this specific thing. Yabo. So I
Yeah.
think it ties in well, but I wouldn't maybe put it to skaters or maybe people who do other sports to then like maybe this is the the plan to go about with their sports. But for me, it definitely has a great correlation, and I've
Yeah.
used it to the best of my advantages.
I would guess, I can only guess, but they've done studies on peak experiences and flow. I think it's the same for all of us, even whether we know it or not. Because when I hear enough people talking about things, you can realize that we're all having these experiences. So I think what you're talking about is universal. I've even heard stories. There was a guy who played American football, and they hit him, and he had a concussion, and he still played the game. And he told everybody that he doesn't know what he was doing during the game. He can't remember the game. And as far as he was concerned, he had passed out. You understand what I'm saying? So they hit him
Yeah.
hard, and he had a brain injury, but he still played the game. But what he was basically saying is that he thinks he was on autopilot because he doesn't remember anything. So this just goes to show
Mhm.
you that there may have been some unconscious involvement there
Yeah,
there too.
yeah,
So I think that
pretty
all
much.
of us have that. So I think what you're talking about, like you said, you don't want to prescribe it to other people. I think what it will be is that you can't prescribe it the way you've experienced it. They have to figure out the way,
Yeah.
because I've had similar experiences in which under stress I do something and it becomes automatic. So I think what you can prescribe is that all of us should have faith that we have these mechanisms, but each person's method or approach to figuring it out will be different. What do you think? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely will have our different
Yeah. Eh,
ways of coping with what we are trying to do.
Yeah.
But I think at least to give a perspective that you have went through is
Yeah.
gonna be helpful to the next person because at least you're speaking from experience and something that you can say that yeah, this has definitely worked for me. So I really do think that introducing meditation to sports that are extreme could help them cope with the difficulty of like injuries and as I've said those backside
Yeah.
one or all types of tricks.
Yeah.
So I really do think that it's not a force, but we can find a way to at least limit our injuries and shortcomings through meditation in sports.
Yeah, yeah, and
Or
and I agree. So what I've been taking from you is that, and also meditation is not just sitting down thinking about your thoughts. It's actually because you have transcendental meditation, then you have some more which are directed about thoughts. So it can involve transcendental, which is more intuitive, and more
Yeah.
less of analytical. Then you've got analytical. Then you've got what I call visualization. Visualization, and not only about how you're skating, but also visualizing the state that you are in when you no longer have fear, or you do have fear, because we'll never escape fear. But when you're harnessing your fear in a creative way, in a brave way, that helps you do what you know you have to do, because nobody's going to tell you. If somebody told you uh, quit skateboarding, or maybe you'll lose 3 years of your life, you'd be like, okay, I guess I'll die 3 years earlier, because it's become an integral part of you. Same thing with soldiers. Soldiers know they can die, but some soldiers will be like, no, I have to go and battle. And I know. So once it becomes something that's important to you, that's the spirituality. And you even know that you may get injured before. But once you walk on that path, like, they call the Japanese kamikaze, like the wind. Some of those guys would
Mm.
fly planes and crash them. I'm not advocating war, but they would crash their plane. But the day before, they would go and pray for themselves. They would go and cry at their own funeral before they die. So what I'm trying to say is that once you reach an extreme sport like skateboarding or sports, which is not as
Yeah.
extreme as war, you're already a soldier and a warrior. So there's no escaping the risk. So now what the meditation does and the visualization is it prepares you for battle. And for you, battle is out there in the concrete world, doing those things. You see, what do you think? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, true. I mean, I mean, I would think from my perspective, skaters are the most yeah, they really know how to take pain, you know. So
Oh, you have to.
every
Yeah.
time we can skate, it's
What
like
do you
we
do
are in
for
a war.
what do you do? What have you done meditation wise to deal with physical pain also? Yeah, to that lessens it physically too, not just visual. Does visualization help, or breathing? What are things that have worked for you? Yeah, to make pain more
Um,
bearable. Yeah.
like let's say for example, if I were to go out skating, I remember back in like 2021, I used to visualize from me getting to where I am to the skate park, like actually visualizing each moment, each place that I'm going to pass through, realize the speed that I'll need to go down this road. And,
Oh
it's sort
wow.
of
Yeah.
like I'll sit in silence and just picture this journey. And even like maybe when I get to the skate park, you sort of have these tricks
Yeah.
that you
What
want
you're
to
doing is,
do.
I call that mapping. You're mapping it out and everything, and also not
Yeah,
just
map.
mapping out the locations, mapping out your own interaction to the location. Yeah, that's a high level of that's really high level meditation and visualization. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
it works. Yeah.
for more practical things, which I think I haven't done like directly, but just as something indirect. I mean, every time you go to skate, it's like you sort of conflicted with this, like you don't really know what's going to happen. I mean, just you laying your board down is already a risk. So I
Yeah.
think just before you start to like, take it in, breathe, like
The
just
experience. Yeah.
cool, and then you can go out there.
Yeah.
But I think just throughout the whole journey, I think meditation for me has played a sort of indirect role.
Yeah. It's very important. It's one of the things, and that's the goal of our show, is to deal with different aspects. So this is just one aspect. So let's move on, because we're running out of time. But let's focus on the other idea about urban areas and skating. A lot of urban areas, there's a lack of greenery, trees, a lack of beauty, or so-called. I think graffiti is beautiful anyway, and the clothes you guys wear are good too. But an idea, you're living in areas which people don't see as being picturesque, and also in areas that crime and things like that. But from what I was reading from the notes you sent me, this creates a platform of creativity where, because you're skateboarding in that environment, you're reinterpreting that environment and turning it into something that has not just meaning, but adds variety into your life and color and aesthetics, and is driven by. And I've noticed that all you need to do is look at what skateboarding culture has been aligned with. It's aligned with graffiti, art, hip hop, performance, brotherhood. But all of this is done within a space that most people say, oh, look at this space. There's not a lot of beautiful buildings. There's not a lot of flowers. There's not a lot of hope because there's crime. And what you're doing is that through spirituality and the mind and the ability and imagination, you're turning it into something that's infinitely beautiful. Can you speak to that a little bit? Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, besides skateboarding, I've always been interested in architecture,
Yeah.
structures, even though I didn't grow up in a city type of place, where you
Yeah.
can see all this beautiful infrastructure. But when I got to like experience the infrastructure through skateboarding, it made me realize how I actually do like the space around me and being able to skate in these places. It's a part of it, yes, is destroying it, but I think we have an intention to always want to skate that place. So we sort of like preserve it in some sort of degree.
I
So
see
I
what you're saying.
think
Yeah. I never thought
skateboarders,
about it that maybe you're destroying the area too. But anyway, I never thought about it that way, but that's a story for another
yeah,
day.
I think I think it's about destroying and
And
building, like
rebuilding.
that
Yeah.
concept
It
of,
sounds like
you know,
anarchy and recreativity. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But I really do think that skateboarders are really proud citizens of a dwelling or a city. Like they really do love their environment. And
Yeah.
so them skateboarding in the streets or certain infrastructures, it just shows that they are connected with the environment. So I
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
do think
And
it
also
is
they create communities around those environments. Yeah. People, the brotherhood and camaraderie and everything. Yeah. And what I love about it from because I know you guys are competitive, but it's almost like the opposite. You're actually supportive of the people you're competing against. It's like you guys are family. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. It's not.
yeah,
It's
we
not.
can come from I'm saying we can come from different parts of the city. I mean, just where I live, we are sort of separated, the skaters in our different
Cliques and
locations.
clans. Yeah.
Yeah, but we still find a way to get together, and it's not a competition about, oh, these guys from that side, these guys from this side.
Yeah.
It's always like we're happy to actually be together, coming
Yeah.
from so far, and
Yeah.
just this
So
one
that has a
thing.
communal aspect to it. And what I like, I'm sure, like when you see somebody hit a move, even if you're jealous, you all celebrate that they made that move. Motherfucker, you got it. You get my point. Like, it's not like some other sports like rap. Oh, that guy did a good verse. I'm jealous. It's like, no, I can't believe you got that. Yeah, so that's a good one
Yeah,
too.
yeah, definitely. I mean, it feels great to see some people challenging themselves because you
Hmm.
know that they cannot cheat this. I mean, I think we as skateboarders, we call out something that we feel like it's a cheat, but
Yeah,
when we see someone doing something challenging, we very much do appreciate it, and it's a joy throughout the whole community. I mean, our competitions are not as, like very competitive that we want
yeah,
to,
yeah,
be only one winner.
yeah.
We definitely are inclusive in how we,
Do
go
it. Yeah.
about
And I've seen guys
competitions.
like Tony Hawk. The guys that he's competing against, they go to beat each other, but they actually give each other tips on how to get better when they're not competing against each other. They share information. They don't keep it secret. You get my point. So that's the interesting paradox
Yeah.
of the skateboarding genre. There's some other genres which, like I know back in the day in the U.S., jazz when the guys would play the trumpet, they would put handkerchief on their fingers so that people couldn't see how they're doing their fingers and copy their. It doesn't seem like
Okay.
there's that much secretiveness it seems like it's more communal in things like skateboarding and other sports too. Some sports tend to have that sort of communal and some don't, I don't think it's just the nature of the sport. I guess it's the nature of the people who are doing the sport, that type of thing. Yeah. Like I don't think you'll see
Yeah,
in
true.
football, Messi's not going to tell somebody how he learned how to dribble. You understand what I'm saying? But there are some sports I've noticed even in tennis people help each other out too. So it's just interesting. That's another story
Yeah,
though. Yeah. All right, so this has been a good show.
yeah.
We're gonna have to wrap up. Any last things you want to talk about? Any angle you want to take before we head out? Yeah.
I just want to say to all the skateboarders,
Yeah,
keep
give a shout
doing
out to
what
your
you're
guys
doing.
too, and make sure you send the link to them. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
All right, yeah.
yeah,
Shout out to my team,
yeah.
Unfamiliar Skateboarding. And shout out to the whole skateboarding scene in Standerton, in Mpumalanga, in South Africa, and Africa and throughout the whole world. I love skateboarding. I love its progress. And I hope that this video, with the introduction of meditation, it could improve on how we recover injuries and progress further.
Okay, very good. Let me ask you a question. Are there any skateboarding organizations in South Africa or even in Africa in general? Like over is there an
Yeah,
overarching organizations
yes,
of that sort?
there is very, I wouldn't say much, but there is this organization. It's called the Kimberley Diamond Cup, and it 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 happens annually, but it only started, I think, this year to be more progressive and consistent again.
Okay, yeah.
And
So I guess
so
yeah,
this year,
go ahead.
sorry
Sorry.
to cut you off.
No,
So
I cut
this
in front of
year,
you, then you. I cut in front of you first. Go ahead. Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah, they've been going around the country at the major cities, and they hosting these stops. They're giving out huge prizes of money,
Oh, good.
and it's great to see that at least it has come back. And with all the other brands that are helping and also being present, it's they are solidifying skateboarding again. So I would say
Yeah, but I
there
also
is.
think that because I know you've seen some of my political shows. I don't believe politics is the way Africa or South Africa or Nigeria we improve. I think that how we improve is by creating these collective communities, and that actually can bring people together. And if we can spread things like this, skateboarding, literature, poetry, art, even philosophy, thinking, politics, once we start to build these communities, that's a better way than, oh, I must go and vote for Zuma or that type of thing. Because those, what we need to do is
Yeah.
create collectives where we take our own. Because what you guys now is you have a community, and this community helps fight things like depression, anxiety, because you have people that you're doing things and they're making goals, giving people awards, which makes people aspire. Because no matter what, to be good at this sport like you're doing, it takes discipline. And I think that that type of discipline will transfer to your way your life, how you relate to your friends, your family, and how you relate as a citizen of not just South Africa, of Africa and the world. So what we will try to do, like what we're trying to do on our show, is to continue bring up all these different aspects of culture. Today we've talked about the skateboarding culture, but we're looking at it just like what you mentioned. I didn't know about that, the group in Kimberley. So these types of groups need to be proclaimed and need to be highlighted for what they're doing because it's very important. Thank you. So last words, and you can take us out, Angelo. You'll take us out today.
Um, so yeah, skateboarding, Buddhism, meditation, it all finds its way together, and us bringing this information to you guys, it's going to help all the different aspects of skateboarding and life in general. So I really think that this is important for us to share with y'all. And thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Hold on. Just hang on. I'm just going to cut off the recording.